Scotland squad for the Autumn Nations series. Man, there's a lot of new caps in this squad. A lot of new caps, folks. Most of the guys I'm familiar with in one way or another, but not all. So I will take certainly some insights from you guys into who we should be looking out for. But as I mentioned, there's a lot of guys with no caps in the squad. So Gregor's obviously getting ready for 2023 and with a chance to maybe against Tonga. I'm not sure, blood some of the guys who aren't the most experienced, but it is a bit of a mix, a big squad. But yeah, they've got 4 games on the trot, so it is time to get guys some minutes spread about, I would imagine. We'll go through the squad kind of quickly, some of the guys who are out, some of the guys who come in, and as I said, you guys can let me know your thoughts on who they've got. So the hookers, initially it was Ashman, Brown, McNally and Turner, but Brown's out. He's injured, so Dave Cherry comes back in. And he seemed like kind of one of the unfortunate omissions initially. Kind of hard luck on him missing the cup because Dave Cherry was pretty good in Six Nations when kind of called upon in a pinch, right? Thought he was pretty good. So I know he made his debut kind of late in his career, and Ashman's maybe looked as the the guy you need to blood and get more minutes into. But yeah, Dave Cherry, at least he's in. I'm kind of happy for him that he is in, even if it's only due to Fraser Brown dropping out. Batty, Ferguson, Kebble, McCallum, Schoolman, and Sutherland are your props. Sutherland's your guy who won't be available outside of November due to being with Worcester. You're probably pretty happy to get back to Scottish colours at the moment because Worcester are having a pretty hard time of it. Schoolman is your uncapped guy. He's been playing for Edinburgh for a few years now. Qualifies through residency. He seems to be pretty... I think when he moved to Edinburgh, that was kind of his thing, wasn't it? I think he'd had enough of it in South African rugby. So, yeah, good to see him kind of put the work in and get the reward. And he's only 27, so he's a guy who could kind of come along pretty nicely. Murray McCallum's got 3 caps. I don't remember seeing him playing, but there you go. Got memory like a sieve, apparently. So, we'll see how he goes if he gets some game time. Gilchrist, Harley, Hodgson, Skinner, and Sykes. Now, locks is one area where your Scottish team's looking a wee bit light with no Cummins and no Johnny Gray out injured. So things are looking a wee bit light in the second row. Hodgson's your only uncapped guy alongside Sykes actually. So there's 2 of them, both Edinburgh locks. Rob Harley's got 22, so a bit more experienced. Grant Gilchrist, but yeah, and Skinner won't be available for that first game because he'll still be with the Chiefs. But yeah, I don't know. You're just missing kind of 2 of your premier locks. But as always with injuries, it's a good time to build a bit of depth. Back rowers, you've got Bayliss, who's uncapped, Crosby, who's uncapped, Daj, who's been uncapped. Daj is probably the guy I'm most keen to see in Scotland colours because he's one guy from what limited amount of the URC I've watched has actually looked really, really, really good. Very kind of pleased to see him kind of get that reward. Matt Ferguson's there. Nick Hanning is there. Dylan Richardson is one of the call-ups. Another one that seems to have kind of stirred the pot with a few people about picking South Africans, but I mean, he's not even residency qualified. He's actually, blood connection to Scotland. So I don't see... I mean, people did it with Brad Shields when he went back to play for England as well, like English parents and grew up in New Zealand. But, I mean, I've seen an interview with him. Brendan Nell interviewed Dylan Richardson, and he basically said, yeah, Scotland's been in contact with me for a long time, like over 4 years, apparently. And I think his old man's Scottish, so I don't have a problem with that. Played, obviously, at South African schools level. But yeah, he's keen to get a crack. He's 22 years old. He's a good player, man. So it's going to be pretty competitive amongst all the Scottish back rows, but we'll see if he gets any time. Richie Watson are kind of regulars there, and they have since added Magnus Bradbury, who wasn't initially in the squad as well. He's kind of come in, so good for him. The guys. Apart from Richie and Watson, it always seems to be a bit of a revolving one as to who's going to get capped. I thought it was kind of Matt Ferguson who'd secured the spot, but yeah, Scotland's got loads of loose forwards, so you could legit have a couple go down with injury and still have heaps of guys to call on, which is pleasing and kind of what you need when you go into Rugby World Cup. Halfbacks, Dobby, Horn, and Price. I've liked Velicott. I know Velicott's, I think, still... maybe a bit on the outer in terms of Townsend's plans, but he's been pretty good from what I've seen him in the URC. Dobby's your uncapped guy, 20 years old, so I guess it's a good chance to give him some exposure when you've got, a 26-year-old and a 28-year-old in Horn and Price. But I don't know, I just like watching Bellicott because he's been pretty sharp this season in the URC. 10s, you got Hastings, Russell, and Ross Thompson. Ross Thompson, I think, was initially called up in July before all those games kind of got canned, and people were saying he's a guy to look out for. So it's another area Scotland seem to have a heap of depth, man. Russell's probably everybody's favourite, but then Hastings has been playing really well at Gloucester from what I've seen of the Premiership, and then Thompson, who's your uncapped guy, 22 years old. You've got genuine depth. So, man, it's proper happy days. Mark Bennett, I think, is out of the squad, but he was initially named. But the other midfielders, you got Chris Harris, Sam Johnson, Hugh Jones, Matt Scott, and Sione Tuipulotu. Tuipulotu is one of the new call-ups, and he has also looked very sharp in the URC as well. Seems to love just flying into the defensive line and then looking for that offload kind of post-contact, which is not a skill everybody has got. But fingers crossed he gets some game time, still only 24 years old, and especially with Hugh Jones and Matt Scott playing, and Chris Harris actually playing in the Premiership, especially for that first game against Tonga. I wouldn't be surprised if Tuipulotu got a start. Outside backs, Graham, Hoyland, McLean, Stain, Van der Merwe, Hogg, and Kinghorn. Although Kinghorn can play a wee bit of 10 apparently if you need him. How much depth do you need at 10? Surely Kinghorn's not going to play 10, but I guess with Russell and Hastings both playing in clubs outside of Scotland, you may need Kinghorn to cover 10 for that first game. We will see. I mean, everyone knows about Darcy Graham. He's a real live wire. Rufus McLean has been one of my favourite guys to watch in the URC as well. There's been a few guys who kind of stand out, and he certainly is one of those. He's uncapped, so hopefully he gets a crack. And old Duhan, like Sutherland, will probably be pretty happy to get a break from Worcester because they've been copping some pretty hard results in recent times. But yeah, like I said, overall, who's missing? Nell from the front rows? It's a pretty good looking Scotland side. I've been saying that for a couple of years now as I've watched them kind of more intently than I previously would have. But you guys seem to have a heap of depth at the moment anyway. Where are you missing all your depth? What are you really missing? I don't know. I mean, as I said, there seems to be a bit of chopping and changing with the back rowers at times, barring Richie and Watson. You got good hookers, you got good props. Price was probably the best looking of the Lions 9s, so that's kind of happy news. Tuipulotu, I think, could add a bit of an extra dimension at 12. There's still a few other guys left out, but yeah, I think you'd be pretty happy. Tonga, the Wallabies, the South Africans, and the Japanese. The lineup, remember the Tonga game, as I said, is outside of the November window, so you'll be looking at a domestically based squad there. Tonga's had all kinds of trouble getting players together. Their coach is not travelling. I don't think their Southern Hemisphere based players are going to travel, so it's a bit of a kind of hodgepodge put together selection for Tonga. But yeah, so I mean, they got pretty handily beaten, but it'll be a totally different team that played New Zealand a few months ago. So yeah, we'll have to see how that game goes. And then tough tests against the Wallabies, South Africa and Japan. But the Wallabies are missing a couple of key players as well who won't be released from their clubs. So that's maybe an interesting one for Scotland because you guys have got a bit of a rivalry with the Wallabies, don't you? And likewise Japan after the World Cup. So, and the Springboks too. Few South African connected players. So man, it should be a pretty interesting time. I am looking forward to it. I do think the Scotland squad, it just looks really good. But yeah, man, there's a heap of new caps. There's a couple of guys I kind of glossed over, like guys who I haven't seen a ton of, like Jamie Hodgson, like, have I seen much of Kyle Stain? I've been more focused on McLean, to be fair. And Damien Hoyland, have I seen much of him? I don't know. Tuipulotu is one of the guys I'm really looking forward to seeing. I'm pretty gutted that Bennett is injured. That's unfortunate for him. But Pierre Schoolman, to see how he goes. I don't know. You guys let me know your thoughts. How do you reckon Scotland are going to go? What's going to be a successful 4 games for them? Do they need to win 2? Are these 2 kind of bookending the must-wins and then flip of a coin for the other 2? Like Scotland at home, traditionally a very hard side to play. So, I don't know. Do they need to be ambitious and shoot for 4 from 4? 3 from 4? Would you be happy with 2 from 4? I don't know where the expectations are at. But anyway, you guys have any thoughts? Who else is missing from the squad? Who's maybe lucky to be there? And I will talk to you guys again soon. See you later.